Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode number 160. Anthony here, and conspicuous by his absence, Larry is not joining us on this week's broadcast because he had better things to do this week. So instead, I'd like to introduce Russell and Mike, who are filling in for Larry. Yeah, it takes two people to fill in for him. So, guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you for being here. And for those of you guys who don't know, I always talk about how I game online all the time, mostly playing Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, and these are two of the guys who waste their time with me. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Mike, I know you've been gaming for quite a number of years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? How far back do you go?
My first system was the Atari 2600.
Nice. Okay. Which was mine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And Russell, you go gaming way back to when?
Was that 2 years ago?
2016.
Wait, has it been that long?
No, it was 2017.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that long ago.
Yeah,
I am a new gamer, other than a couple of videocade experiences in my youth.
Videocade?
Video arcade. Video arcade.
No, we can take videocade. That works.
Yeah, and actually the way that I got pulled into this was through Mike's interest. Mike is a bad influence on my life usually, and he talked me into jumping in and getting a PS4, and I have been enjoying it ever since.
Well, not just the PS4. It was because of PSVR and all the horror stuff that I was showing you in VR.
Yeah. Because I am a horror fan, as Mike is, and and I know you are as well, Anthony.
I am a horror fan, and
that's what pulled me in, and I feel like I have missed out on a lot of really fun horror stuff by starting so late.
You have actually, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay,
but Mike is also responsible for me buying the PSVR as well.
Yeah, that's right.
You're right.
Hey, Sony, that's two.
That's two for Sony. Yeah, they should have given you residuals while you were in Japan. Or it was some type of royalty.
I should have went to the headquarters,
Sony headquarters. But yeah, so I remember just really quickly to talk about that I was so against VR before I went.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I was like, I don't want to sit in my living room with a thing on my head and wave my arms around like a crazy person.
Yeah, but I've seen those pictures.
Well,
you have no excuse.
Yeah, but that was for something else. I got paid for those. But then you invited me over to your house and said you have to try VR, and I'm like, all right, fine.
And what specifically?
Beat Saber.
Yes.
Have to try VR. Have to try Beat Saber. So went by your house. Several hours later, I was on the way home, and as soon as I got home, I ordered a PSVR. Literally, as soon as I got home. It took no time. And Beat Saber is one of my primary workout games. So what do? I stand in my living room with a thing on my head, and I wave my arms around like a crazy person.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But I thought what would be interesting to talk about today on the show, well, we got a couple of topics, obviously, but the one that I really wanted to start with was, since Mike and I are really old gamers, going back.
I wouldn't say we shouldn't say that.
Well, we're seasoned.
We're old school.
We're old school.
Not just we're old gamers.
Well,
come on.
Fine. We're old school gamers. We go all the way back to the Atari 2600. And since Russell, you are just a newbie, basically, nice noob, with the PlayStation 4, I thought we can just kind of go back and forth and talk about the differences and the similarities possibly between old and new stuff, and maybe educate you a little bit on some of the old school stuff.
I would certainly appreciate that.
All right, cool. So I will start it off and just jump right into probably the obvious difference between old and new stuff: graphics.
Right.
Graphics. Now, I don't know. I know with Russell, with you, like, what are some of the games that you play?
So, I have been introduced to. Mike first introduced me to Arkham. which was through the VR, and that was the first thing that I experienced. Really, I'd seen him play some other stuff. I have played things like Astrobot. We just recently got into Firewall. Farpoint was the one that Mike really stressed that I get when he had started venturing into that, and that was kind of a changing game for me because it's where a lot of stuff started to come together, and it made sense to me of like story mode and competitive mode, online mode. It's like that was the first game that I got into other than Friday the 13th, but Farpoint is a much more elaborate setup, I would say, than Friday the 13th is, because Friday the 13th is just you go into the lobby, you go into the match.
Right.
So,
well, Farpoint's more you're exploring a planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Planet, and that's in VR.
That's in VR.
Right. And Dead by Daylight we've played a lot in the last few months in particular.
Yeah.
Because I'm avoiding life by playing Dead by Daylight.
As we all are.
But yes. Going back to Farpoint, some of the best memories I have playing online with Russell are in that game.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they added a PvP mode, so you can play 1v1.
Okay.
And because Russell had it, I was like, okay, let's play. And obviously, the point is to find the other person and kill them. So I would sneak around places.
Yeah.
And Russell was still getting the hang of it. So, if you've seen that Office where Jim is playing Call of Duty and he's just like running in a corner and jumping, that's kind of like what Russell looked like. And so I would go behind him, hold the gun up to his face, and say, "Russell, turn around," because you can talk to each other through the mics. He would turn around and then bam, blast him right in the face.
Nice.
Multiple times.
Did you ever manage to return the favor?
Once or twice, but that was it. No, he always got the drop on me.
That doesn't surprise me at all. But well, I know VR is like a completely like it's like this whole other animal in this universe where you actually get to step into the game.
Yeah.
But I'm curious in terms of like how realistic is that for you when you're actually playing VR? Like, and specifically, like I'm talking like graphically, like the look of them.
It's an unreal world, but it feels real for me. And and because one of the things that you guys have done for me is pointed me toward like, oh, this was a seminal game. Oh, this was important in the history of video games. And I go back and look at graphics for everything from, we sat down in your place one time and you showed me Mega Man. Because I worked with people who loved Mega Man, but they didn't have it where they could show me images or anything. So it's like you showed me Mega Man, and I looked at those graphics and went like, "You're kidding me!" It was like because I'm used to what's my entry level is now.
Yeah.
So that Sonic,
Yeah, because you played some Sonic Mania, right?
I did, and it didn't pull me in. And it's interesting to me that and most of the side-scrolling games, even when like they were in vogue, even when that was the technology, for some reason I never responded to those. In arcades, the only thing I would respond to is my favorite game in an arcade was Mr. Do's Wild Ride, which is a very similar structure to Donkey Kong.
Yes.
Because you're doing almost the exact same moves as Donkey Kong
Pretty
in
much.
Mr. Do. So when I looked at the side-scrolling games, that for some reason just didn't make sense to me, and they still don't. And I think it's now because the graphics have come so far that feels like a real step backwards for me.
So you basically need either a fully 3D environment or a single screen.
I would say yes, and it's funny that you say single screen because now I'm
because that's what Mr. Do is. Like Mr. Do Donkey Kong, it's just really a single screen.
Yeah, it's a single screen. But I'm also thinking of like Five Nights at Freddy's is basically single screen, for the majority, and I like Five Nights at Freddy's is a game that I never got into. So even though it's a horror game and there's some great jump scares in it, I never finished it. Just because this is really not that interesting to me.
Yeah, because you're just kind of switching.
Yeah, because you're switching
cameras.
back and forth.
Yeah.
So, which by the way, recently, to me, I looked at that, and then I have seen you talk about Night Trap, which is an infamous game that I have heard multiple people refer to over the years as being a horror game that was sort of a game changer, apparently. to some degree. And very controversial.
Yes, and I think it was more a game changer for the controversy than it was for the game itself.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Night Trap fan?
I've never heard of it.
Really? Wow. Okay. Dana Plato?
I know who she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. She was the star in Night Trap.
Oh.
So,
what system?
This was Sega CD, actually. Sega CD, and it was on a couple of other CD-based systems. But the concept of the game was basically that you were basically a voyeur in this full-motion video movie. Oh. So you're watching this movie like play out, and these girls are having a slumber party, and Dana Plato plays this undercover agent because there are vampires that are trying to kill the girls, and basically you have 8 security cameras that you're watching the house in, and the movie keeps running as you're switching screens, and whenever vampires are coming in the house, you had to set off traps to trap them before they got to the girls. And if you made it all the way through, you got to see the whole movie, basically. That's what it was.
Cool. The most unbelievable vampires in history.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's horrible.
Terrible. Okay, another actor in it you may know. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Rick.
Oh, yeah.
Andrew Jones. He was in it also.
Oh, okay.
So.
Huh.
But it's interesting that setup is very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, so Night Trap was one of the first games to utilize that format. There were a few other ones. There was actually one. What was the name of it? I think it's like Killer Switch or Kill Switch or something like that with Corey Haim, which is also really awful. But yeah, it's that whole concept of everything keeps moving, and you just have to keep up with it or else you lose. Because if enough people die, the game just ends.
Right.
But that's a whole other type of graphic situation, because in that sense you're watching a movie, so it's just video.
Right.
They had a similar game on Sega CD for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You know, the TV show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Yeah. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, what it was basically, they had 5 episodes from the first season on it, and you were watching the episodes, but then you had to like press a button on your controller when it told you to, and you only had like a couple of seconds to do it. And as long as you kept doing that, you basically just got to watch the episode. And if you screwed it up, you lost.
Sounds like Dragon's Lair in a way.
That is kind of Dragon's Lair-esque. Just like that. Do you remember Dragon's Lair?
No.
Okay. So that was an arcade back in the 80s, similar concept, except it was like it ran like a cartoon.
Right.
Which, by the way, they Limited Games released that on the PS4.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I actually picked that up, which is really
nice.
Cool. But but since you're more ingrained in terms of graphics and just today's world.
And I think it's literally just a product of the time that I'm entering into this. Mm-hmm. So, because like I said, the side-scrolling games don't hold my interest long enough, and it's partially the graphics, and it's partially just the physical layout of what you're supposed to do. You know, I find everything that I've gone through with Mike as far as play goes, and everything that he's introduced me to recently, is far much more interesting structure-wise, goal-wise. Everything is just more interesting to me, and I think it's just a product of where I'm entering this fun. And I think if I had grown up with a controller in my hand, I would feel differently. Mm-hmm. I really would, but I wasn't exposed to side-scrolling games other than the occasional arcade thing, and it was just like, I don't get the hang of this, and I only have one more quarter.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I didn't have a lot of spare change in my youth, so I didn't spend a lot of time in arcades.
Understand? Well, you know, I mean, if you don't have the quarters, you can't do it.
So yeah, Tron was a favorite of mine personally.
Of course.
So I was okay at Robotron, but
I was never a fan of Robotron.
So it's really pretty boring because every level is exactly the same.
I don't know. I used
just
to
more things attacking.
I used to enjoy Berserk, and that was even slower than Robotron.
Yeah.
See,
I just like the sound effects in Berserk.
The sound effects were the best thing in Berserk for sure. But well, now Mike is somebody who has played 2D side scrollers. Do today's games kind of like sour you on them, or is it more nostalgic?
No. I mean, as far as gaming goes, and stories and structure and graphics, we're miles and miles ahead of where like my brain can even comprehend how we're here. Like you play Red Dead Redemption 2 with HDR on, and then I think about growing up and playing Super Mario Brothers or something, and it's like, how are we here? This looks real.
Yeah.
Like this backdrop is real, but it's not. And it's insane to me. But I think all of those side scrollers, they're just fun. They're fun to play, whereas I think games now are still fun, but there's an added level because they added like the trophy component or achievements and things like that, so it's not the same to me. Whereas you can play Super Mario Brothers and oh damn it, I died on World 4. Have to start over.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I don't know if it's because of the different things that they added, but it's like when you get to certain points, like I only need this many more kills to get this trophy. I need to do this, and you kind of pressure on. Whereas before, it's like, oh dang it, I died. I'm gonna try again tomorrow.
So before everything was level based, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, side scrolling.
Oh, yeah.
Most side scrolling games were level based.
And
so
there
you
was a
didn't
boss at the end of each level. And
So and the boss is like one extra hard level or something?
No, the boss is the guy you have to overcome at the end of the level in order to move on to the next level.
See, terminology. This is what you guys do for me. Is
Yeah.
you teach me terminology and
But
stuff.
but see, and that brings up a good point too, though, because like one of the things about today's games is like it's so easy to save your spot and like go back to it whenever you want.
Yeah.
Whereas like when we're talking like old school side scrolling games and everything like that, you had 3 lives or you got extra lives, whatever.
Right.
You had 3 lives. When those 3 lives were done, game is over.
Yeah.
You have to start all the way back at the beginning. There wasn't
Right.
a saving. So it really it basically you had to learn the patterns of everything that were going
Right.
on in the game.
Which I know people who did that, particularly with PacMan.
Yes.
That was the one where my friends knew the patterns and I didn't. And so PacMan was not as interesting to me as my friends who could go level after level after level. And it was very and I would watch them play, and it was almost like remote, like they were on autopilot.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. You just become like part of the machine and you just go. Well, if you've ever seen the documentary King of Kong, I don't know if you've ever seen that. I mean, literally, you're watching. I forget the other guy's name. I know Billy Mitchell, but the other guy, literally with the Donkey Kong machine in his garage, and he's plotting out on the screen like the patterns so he can figure it out and memorize it.
And then what is the unofficial sequel to King to that documentary? It's about the guy who plays the really rare video game, and there's tournaments of it. And
I can't remember the name.
I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but I found that fascinating as well.
Yeah,
because it was so specialized, and the controversy was whether or not he had altered the motherboard in the final competition.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I found that fascinating, but it was a world that I could not relate to, but it was fascinating to see the passion and commitment that was on display.
Yeah.
And the whining. Because didn't Billy Mitchell complain because his score got beat and it was like, oh, it can't be real?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And and now recently Billy Mitchell's been banned from.
Oh, has he?
Oh yeah, Twin Galaxies banned him because they found out that his high score video and everything like that was doctored. So they not only rescinded. They rescinded everything, but he's been banned permanently now.
Good.
He's trying to appeal it, but well, I mean, it was really weird. I mean, he built his whole mystique on a VHS cassette of him beating Donkey Kong.
Right. And
he didn't have like an official record or whatever, the Twin Galaxies person there or anything like that. Whereas the other guy who did do it, or other people who do it, they have a representative there. He just submitted a video, and there were a lot of questionable things about the video, and finally they decided he was lying.
Wow.
And he's trying to, because you can ask everybody, he's never ever done it in like done that high score in front of another person.
Right.
It's only been the weight of this video that he has. So, but oh well.
Did not know any of that.
Yeah, boo-hoo. But yeah, so I wonder though if one day like you'll find some side-scrolling games, even if they are older games, like for us, like Super Mario Brothers is like canon. You know what I mean? It's like I can go back to that any day of the week
Which
and just play through.
I have not tried Super Mario Brothers yet.
Really?
Yeah. You look shocked.
Wow.
So,
well, I mean, I guess that's understandable considering your first console is a PS4. I mean, if you've never owned a Nintendo, you've never played a Super Mario Brothers. I mean, granted, it's blasphemy, but
sorry,
that's okay. But we can always fix that.
We can help.
We can help you. Where maybe we should have made this episode like a Russell video game education
That could be a
seminar.
episode.
Yes, we'll do like a video education seminar. video game education. But what I was going to say, though, is that there are a couple of side-scrolling games I know you've played and enjoyed because and granted, they're newer games, but remember I had told you to download Limbo and Inside.
Yes, absolutely.
To play, and those are side-scrollers.
Yes, and I absolutely love them.
So why do you feel like you love those compared to maybe other, like maybe classic 2D side-scrollers?
Completely the world.
It's the world.
It's the world.
It's the world and the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so story matters.
Story matters to me, and I work with story as part of my career.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I am drawn to that immediately.
Okay, and then story-wise for you, if you had to pick, let's say, just pick one game retro that's like got the most solid story for you, what pops in your head?
Probably Legend of Zelda.
Just a classic princess kidnapping by evil pigman.
Exactly. I mean, that's what most of the retro games were.
Yeah, it really was. It was always a damsel in distress of some kind.
Right.
I mean, even Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was, and you know what? Like, see, I find this fun because you don't know any of this information, so I can get the, oh, wow, really type of things out of you. But did you know that the only reason why Donkey Kong was created was because the original license for the game that they were trying to make was for Popeye. And that game was supposed to be Popeye climbing up to save olive oil from Bluto, but they lost the license to Popeye.
Wow.
And they had to do something else in the game, so they created Donkey Kong, Pauline, and Jumpman, which later became Mario.
Wow. No, I did not know any of that. I always assumed, because of the name Donkey Kong, that it was a reference to Kong and Fay Ray.
No, that was never the plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and not only that, because Universal at one point sued Nintendo, claiming that they infringed on the rights of King Kong to make Donkey Kong, and Universal lost.
There's not enough similarity there, I think, to prove infringement.
No, definitely. Well, I mean,
yeah.
But so they were supposed to have the rights to Popeye, didn't get them, and then but then a couple of years later, they did get the rights to Popeye, and they put out a Popeye game,
which is fantastic.
I love that game. That game is awesome.
Like collecting the hearts.
Yeah.
By punching them.
Yeah. So like olive oil is throwing
like
hearts.
Life.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. If you want to collect hearts in life, you punch them. So this is one that I always this is one I thought would be good for debate too, because something I always go back and forth on or between retro and current is the actual game quality and which is better, because I still feel like for me retro games have better quality in terms of experience than current, and I don't know if it's because games to me these days feel so realistic that I kind of step out of it a little bit.
But if you're talking quality, that's opinion.
Well, of course, it's always going to be opinion. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer to this. Like, for me, like, I'd rather go back and play Legend. I'll play Legend of Zelda. I'll play the original Legend of Zelda 20 times over without blinking an eye, and I have no problem doing it. But if you asked me to take a current game that I've already played through and play through it again, I won't. Mm-hmm. Because I'm like, nah, you know what? I already put the time in and I'm done. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know. I mean, granted, I know you're just more into the newer games, but Mike, in terms of that aspect, like, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, I think with the retro games, I can replay those because you don't have to think. You can turn your brain off. It's like, oh, I have to get ready. I have to leave in an hour. Oh, I can play 10 minutes or 30 minutes or however long it takes me to die of this, not worry about it, not worry about a save point, not worrying about a trophy, not worrying about anything, and just turn my brain off, like, go through the motions. But as far as quality, the games now blow it away. I mean, I brought up Red Dead Redemption 2 earlier, and Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean, like, as far as quality, like, that game goes on literally forever if you want it to. And there's no levels, and when I think of quality, I think of everything: the story, the graphics, sound, everything. And that game to me blows anything else away from NES or Super NES. anything like that.
Okay. And you don't think it suffers in any way that it is open-ended to the point where you can never finish it?
Not at all, because because the story mode, you can finish it, but even after story mode is done, you can still play if you want to, or you can go and play the online version of it, which is basically another story mode in a way.
Okay.
And that's when you can have your friends come in and play, which, guys, it's on sale for Black Friday, just saying. But
we're just gonna wind up getting shot in the head.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Been there, done
you can
that.
turn friendly fire off. But yeah, like that game, with games that have a definitive end, that's cool because you accomplished it. Mm-hmm. But with games that have a false end, we play Dead by Daylight every night. Mm-hmm. That goes on forever, technically.
But each match is roughly 20 to 30 minutes.
But that can be considered an end, but you're not progressing in a story. You're not really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But sorry, going back to your original question, yes, I think quality-wise, the games now blow it away.
Okay. And then Russell, in terms of what he said about like games not having an ending, do you feel like you need to have like an ending for a game to feel like it's accomplished, or are you okay with the whole open-endedness?
It goes back to the story mode of things. Is I like to reach a conclusion, and I think that's why Firewall didn't pull me in as much. Even though, to be totally honest, Firewall and Dead by Daylight are very similar in construction. Mm-hmm. It's like the goal is different, but it's very similar in construction. Actually, Firewall is probably a little simpler than Dead by Daylight because you literally have the 2 points that you're trying to reach, and either protect or corrupt, depending on what you're doing. So, but yeah, story mode, yeah, I do like to have an ending. But something that I've said to you guys, one of the things I really like about Friday the 13th is 20 minutes. So, like you said, Mike, it's like I wake up and I usually play a round of something before going to work. Right now, it just happens to be Dead by Daylight. I used to do it with Friday the 13th because I knew, okay, wait, if I set my alarm for 10 minutes early and I can do one round of Friday the 13th and while breakfast is doing its, Mm-hmm. So I like having that defined time limit. And Dead by Daylight, as you said, is anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes, depending on who you end up in the lobby with. So it's like I do like the short-term aspect of that, of like you can reach some kind of a conclusion. But you're right, it's goes on forever. It's an endless loop. And so the loops are different, but it's an endless loop.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm. You brought up something that it made me think about things. With retro games, you don't have to worry about you didn't have to worry about anything, a developer messing it up with an update. Nowadays that's something you have to worry about.
Oh yeah.
Firewall is a perfect example. They did an update, they put things behind a paywall, and it made the game literally unplayable for the majority of the people playing it. And I believe it got fixed, but it took a few weeks. Mm-hmm. There's things even in Dead by Daylight, they broke this with the last update. They did this. But the flip side, a lot of times we get free things from those updates. Yeah. We get new levels or new mm-hmm. characters, and that's something that we'd have to wait for a sequel, like in the retro games. We had to wait for Super Mario 2 to get like an extended story or something. Yeah,
but when you think about retro games, though, for the most part, unless you're LJN, which is a whole other story, it's a game developer. They made really bad games. Okay. There you go. So unless you're LJN, though, for the most part, like games that were released back then were good. I mm-hmm. mean, any glitches that were in them were usually minimal, so you really didn't have to worry about that as much. Whereas today, every time you pick up a game, you do run the risk of that having a problem. And I'm talking to you, 2K Sports, with WWE 2K20, which I still won't play until you fix it.
Well, what was the term? Glitchapalooza?
Glitchapalooza was what I used. I mean, or Glitchamania.
Glitchamania is more appropriate.
And how many new games have day one patches?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, a perfect example, when I got WWE 2K20, day one, there was a 12 gigabyte patch. And it still didn't fix everything. It's a mess. The game is an absolute mess.
And in my new experience, I've seen that with Dead by Daylight, where things break when they update and release new things. And
Yeah, I mean, and to me that's and what's funny is like when I emailed 2K about all the issues they're having, like their response in their email was, "Well, no game is perfect when it comes out, and that's why we have patches." And I literally wrote back to them, I'd be like, "I did not have this problem with previous consoles." I'm like, you finish a game before you release it. Now it's just like, we'll release what we have, and then we'll fix it later. I do miss the days of just getting a game and it's like,
and playing it,
and just playing it without worrying about it being broken. I mean, it's just crazy.
That's interesting because I don't know that world. I'm so used like Friday the 13th was the first game I spent a lot of time playing, and Farpoint worked fine for me. And Firewall. I think when what happened, you talked about happened, I was doing other stuff. I think I was into Astrobot at that point.
Yeah.
So. It's like I'm used to the update thing.
You're used to the whole, we're going to patch these things. Yeah, and for me, it was always like, I put the disc in or the cartridge in, I play my game, and I'm done. And I don't have to worry about, I got to download something for it, or, it doesn't work, I got to send it back or something. Except for LJN.
I have a quality question for you guys as being more experienced. And Mike, you made me think of it when you're talking about Red Dead Redemption. I'm talking to someone who I'm working with right now who's, I think he's going to buy it on the Black Friday sale, but he said he's messed around, and he's a gamer. He's much more experienced than I am. But he said, like, the thing that worries me about Red Dead is the controls because they're so complex. I think he's intimidated by what I brought up to you when I went to your place and watched you play for a little while, and our friend Omar, I watched Omar play for a little while. Things are moving so fast around the screen as far as the controller and choosing guns and weapons and aiming and doing all this stuff. There's so much going on that I'm looking at it going, I have no idea what's going on.
The thing that you're not seeing, and of course, if this paper was the control scheme, you'd be like, what? How am I ever going to remember this?
Yeah.
But what you're not seeing is the build-up and like the not really a tutorial, but when they start you off, they teach you how to do things, and it becomes second nature at that point.
Okay.
So they'll say like,
and that's in story mode. Okay.
Right. So like they're like, okay, lasso this panther, and it'll be like press L2 or whatever. And
I'm so dead meat.
and
there's panthers? What?
And then it becomes like you subconsciously do it. It's like, okay, lasso is L2, or whatever, or aiming is L2, throwing this or shooting is this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not. They don't just like give you the game and it's like, here you go, figure it out.
But quality wise, it's like that level of control. Do you consider that a plus now that you have all of these complex options?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Because and this is coming from someone who, like Russell, if you don't know, the Atari 2600 was a joystick and one button.
No, I've seen them. I know what you're talking about, but yes, I didn't know what it was.
You're very limited as to what you can do.
I saw that look.
You can.
You do not judge me.
Sorry, did I? You can move. And then you can do one other thing. That's it. Here, I'm on a horse. I can look backwards. I can look to the side. I can shoot someone. I can pull a lasso. I can throw a dynamite. Like, you can do so many different things, and that just adds to the story.
Subtle. Nice.
Nice way you brought it
well done.
And I have a question for you, Anthony.
Sure.
So, because we mentioned Astrobot. And you finally played it after me begging you to play it because of everything.
Well, I only bought it like 6 months ago.
I know.
Or 8 months ago.
Because for me, coming from side scrollers and NES and N64 and like all the different Marios and the Crash Bandicoots and all of that, playing this made me feel like I did the first time I played like the 3D version of I forget
Mario 64.
Yeah, Mario 64 and stuff like that. But it's in VR. So how did you feel playing it? Did you feel like this is the next step in the evolution of like these types of games?
Yeah, no, that's kind of exactly how I felt. It's got that traditional feel to it, while taking that next step, like you said, because it's basically like playing Mario 64, except you're in it with with Mario, except in this case it's Astrobot. I will say it's a little strange, having to crane my neck around things and trying to look around corners when I'm trying to move this poor guy. I was like, that part I'm not used to. The most I'm used to is like when I get really serious and concentrate on a game, I lean forward. I was like, that's what I used to do, but that was just to get closer to the screen.
Right.
I go, now I'm like, I gotta look around and make sure it's all 360. But I do agree with you. I go, to me, Astrobot is like, if Nintendo came out with a suitable VR, and I'm not talking about the Labo VR, but an actual suitable VR. Not to knock the Labo, but I'm just not. It's a Virtual Boy to me. But if they came out with a legitimate VR, I would love to play a Mario game that's similar to Astrobot. Because that, to me, would be the next evolutionary step for Mario. Mm-hmm. For sure. I think we should just roll. I was going to do some breaks and stuff like that in the episode, but I kind of just want to keep rolling with this if you guys are cool. Because aside from just talking about new games and old games, and we got to get you to play some more retro games.
I feel I have not found my way into that, just interest-wise, and like, and
I have 25 consoles. I'm pretty sure I can find something that you'll play.
Probably. But I will say something that Mike was asking you about Astrobot. Astrobot, I think, is the first video game that I felt like a kid. Like, I was so happy. It just makes you happy. And you and I both work with animated stuff in our jobs.
Yep.
And it's like... so to see the animation, the quality of animation, the emotion the nonverbal communication that is with that character, that was the first time I felt in a game I am relating to this character, and that kind of freaked me out, but also excited me to no end. Because he gets impatient with you.
Yes.
It's like if you stop and you're looking around, because I would do this all the time, is I would look around like, this world is amazing, and I would turn around and the character in the game is looking at me like, what are you doing?
If it makes you feel any better, when we play Dead by Daylight, I do the same thing.
You look at me going, what are you doing? Thank you for that. So that's a very valid point about you guys. Because, Mike, you've actually sat behind me and watched me play video games.
And have said, what are you doing?
Yeah. and the ever popular, why are you doing that? But I'm approaching it from my logic, is like, because I don't have the years of experience, so I don't sometimes think in game logic.
Yeah.
And it's like I don't even, like, recently you pointed out to me, it was like, Russell, you realize when you do this, you're doing, like, the killer will know you're over here. And I said yes, because there was somebody in danger, and I was deliberately going to do something to draw the killer's attention if possible. So it was like, but you were like, why are you doing this now? And it was just a different logic. And there's been multiple times when you guys have said, wait, Russell, turn this way. Russell, do this, in, like, as we're playing online, and we're talking to each other on microphone. And I sometimes go like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And then sometimes I can say like, no, I have a reason for doing what I'm doing. And then sometimes I have to go like, oh, you're right. That's a better idea than what I'm doing. So I don't have years of experience. And I think that's where it shows up for me most, is I don't have a game logic. I have a problem solving logic. I have an escape room logic. Really hasn't helped me on I Expect You to Die. I Expect You to Die is wonderful, and I have failed miserably at the last level, so still have not gotten all the way through it. But I don't have a game logic that makes sense to you guys all the time. And it's like, and sometimes I appreciate you making the comment, even though I quite often feel silly when you make the comments. I'm like, oh yeah, why am I doing this? Why aren't I going here?
How else are you going to learn?
So yeah, and it's like, and I've been playing Dead by Daylight has rankings where I've been playing a lot with you while Mike was traveling recently, and what you realized it, is that I wasn't progressing. And my rank wasn't changing, yours was, and part of what it was is I wasn't getting experience because everyone was at a higher level and I was down here rank wise. So what was happening is if I got chased by the killer caught me faster. I wasn't playing with killers and other survivors at my own level of entry, sort of. So, and like my rank is climbing much faster now that I've been coming home really, really late from work and playing a couple of games. I'm moving up faster because I'm playing with people and I'm not getting killed as fast. And I think that's another thing that I've realized is like, oh yeah, I learned from you guys, but I also need to be playing on my own to gain the experience because I'm not where you guys are. You guys are so much better in so many ways than I am. So, and thank you for shepherding me and teaching me.
That's more than just in video games.
Wow, thanks. Wow. You were saying?
I would say, but I want to switch over, but since you were talking about DBD, but just to circle back really quickly when you were talking about the joy of Astrobot.
Oh yeah.
I actually think you should try Super Mario 64 because I feel like you would really, granted the graphics aren't going to be the same and it's not VR, but I feel like you would probably get the same kind of joy out of that you did in Astrobot.
Well, and it's funny because I thought I was going to get that from Sonic because I just love the design of the Sonic character.
Yeah.
It's he's so freaking cute and cool and snazzy and like and the game itself has some of that, but the game didn't pull me in.
Right.
The character did, but the game did not.
But I bet if you played Sonic Adventure for the Dreamcast, have you ever played that one? Okay, because it's a 3D. It's a 3D version of Sonic, and it has more of a. It's not totally open world, but the levels, it plays all 3D. I think that would pull you in more than the side-scrolling Sonic games would.
I might have that too.
Yeah, I think I still have it as well.
Okay, all right. So, I would love to give it a try.
Yeah, I think you should if you go that route, and I wonder if Zelda's more of like an epic adventure kind of game. Like it's a longer, it's a longer game. But even going to any of the Zelda games, starting with the N64, like Ocarina of Time and stuff like that, I think you would also find intriguing because again, it's those type of characters where they're all nonverbal, especially with Nintendo. Nintendo is notorious for nonverbal characters.
Okay.
And they do everything through just different sounds and emotions and visuals, and it just makes it really appealing. So I feel like if you went that route, you would probably enjoy those a lot more.
Interesting, because that brings up something else that I have tried video games along the way of my life. Like we've talked about Seventh Guest,
yes,
which I did play and thoroughly enjoyed. I still to this day remember. I used to call it the Gloopy puzzle, and everybody knew exactly what I was talking about.
Oh yes, where you're playing against stuff, and it's the board.
It's the board is like I love that.
It's basically like Othello almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I tried Myst, hated Myst.
Yeah,
because Myst was like I have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what my goals are, and that was the appeal of the game. But it was exactly what turned me off. Whatever the claymation game that DreamWorks put out, I felt the same way about.
Which one was the claymation game from DreamWorks?
When DreamWorks was trying to first start, I believe Steven Spielberg had a hand
Clay
in
Fighter?
it.
Not Clay Fighter.
No. This was a wandering story mode sort of thing, and it was literally you're going and you're opening something and you're closing it and you're and I that kind of gameplay. I'll see if I can figure that out and let you know what that was. But I don't think it did extremely well. But I found out that the open world sort of wandering, pointless feeling games to me did not pull me in.
Gotcha.
And that is one reason why I never became a gamer is because I would read things about Seventh Guest or Myst or like, oh, I have to try this, and then it would be like, what's the point? The only other one is I worked a job once that we had Doom, which is my first encounter with first-person shooter.
First-person shooters.
And I really enjoyed it. Thought it was very repetitive. Every level seemed to feel kind of the same, except the monsters kept getting bigger. So, but I really enjoyed it. And so that was that, and that's sort of my history. And then after Doom, for years I didn't do anything.
So, first-person shooters, yay or nay?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I mean, I'll take your Doom and raise you a Wolfenstein.
I was just going to say Doom or Wolfenstein were really the debates there.
Yeah. I mean,
aliens or Nazis.
Killing Nazis is always a great thing.
So, Wolfenstein,
Which I have for the Jaguar, if you want to play it.
You have a Jaguar?
Uh-huh.
Nice. Not on my list. Atari system.
Okay, all right. I believe it was Wolfenstein that somebody I worked with tried to introduce me to, and I never got the hang of the visual of it, of how you track the map of where you are. And I kept getting lost and going back to the same places. So and the person was like, use the map in the corner, and I could never get the hang of it. And when I first started Friday the 13th, if you remember, I had map problems.
There's a map in Red Dead too, so.
Oh, great.
Yay!
You're screwed.
But it's a bigger map.
Well, and that's gonna bring me to our next debate that I really want to have, since we are we three, along with some other people, play pretty much Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th exclusively together of all the multiplayer games, mostly because it's the one all three of us enjoy.
Yeah.
World War Z did not work out for either of us.
What happened with that?
He finished it.
Oh.
He finished it before we ever bought it. So
yes.
done. But I will say the handful of times I did play it, I wasn't into it as much.
Yeah.
I just wasn't.
Do you know the New York thing that I did with him about World War Z?
No. What happened?
So I sent him pictures from New York. Last time I went to New York,
Yeah.
I sent him a picture like, do you recognize this? And he said, no, it's a shopping mall. And then I moved it somewhere else in the shopping mall. I sent him another picture. It's like, do you recognize it now? And it's the mall that you defend in the first level of World War Z.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it is literally absolutely 100% accurate. And I walked by it because I was like going to go buy a ticket for a show, and I walked by it, and I just had that moment of like, and I've been in that area before, but it just something registered differently. And I looked at the glass because it's like huge glass doors on the front. And so I just looked at the glass doors and went, why does this look familiar? And I went in and saw the two escalators and was like, this is World War Z. This is amazing. So I started snapping pictures and sending them to him going like, do you know it now? Do you recognize this?
That's awesome. So wait, where was this in New York?
It's if you are looking at a map of Manhattan, it's on the lower left corner of Central Park.
Okay.
So if you go out, there's almost like a roundabout looking intersection.
Along
It's
the circle?
right in that area. So yeah, lower left corner. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like it's a shopping mall.
I know
sort of
exactly.
like
Yeah, I know,
half a block away.
I know exactly where that is.
So yeah, and it's
That's
like
awesome.
It's all accurate. It's like
Very
the escalators, everything.
I think we should all like take a trip to New York and just play World War Z here.
Yeah, that would go over.
I think it would be great. It'd be perfect. But anyway, since World War Z didn't work out for us, and Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th seem to be the two games we play the most, one more than the other, of course, I want to know from both of you, which one is better? And you can debate.
I was going to say,
weigh
define
it all.
better.
Well, overall, I don't know if you want to just say overall experience with both games. Now, we play a lot more Dead by Daylight than we do Friday the 13th. That goes without saying. But that doesn't necessarily mean one is potentially, that Dead by Daylight is better than Friday the 13th. If you were to actually sit down and maybe weigh out everything in the games that you enjoy, which one has the edge to you?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, I'll say Dead by Daylight. And the sole reason is because the devs are still updating it, still adding things. Friday the 13th, they stopped caring years ago. Like the devs.
Well, they had no choice.
No, this is even before.
Oh, okay.
Before the lawsuit stuff happened. Like, there's glitches that have been there since day one. People can still get on the roof of PacMan, and there's just exploits, and they stopped caring. And the lawsuit doesn't affect their ability to fix bugs, and they're not doing it. They just gave up on the game. When it first came out, it was definitely fun, and Dead by Daylight was always the comparison. There's things I like better in Friday the 13th. I like that you can fight back. I like that you can defend yourself. I like that you can escape quicker if you find the right things. But the flip side of that is once you play that so many times, you know where things are going to spawn. Dead by Daylight's kind of the same. You can probably tell where a lit totem is going to be. But the fact that they're still updating it and still adding new levels, new characters, and have a game plan, as well as fixing the bugs that may be caused by an update or whatever. Excuse me. Yeah, for me, it's definitely Dead by Daylight. There's a reason we all play it every night for the most part, instead of playing Friday the 13th every night.
And you?
I agree with a lot of what he says. I do like Friday the 13th a little more overall, I think, because I think it has better mood and atmosphere overall. I think Dead by Daylight overall is too bright a game.
Interesting.
It's just like it doesn't feel like a horror game to me on some of the maps. It's like particularly the farm map does not feel like a horror game to me. Friday the 13th feels more like a horror game to me, and I do like the fact in Friday the 13th is that there's more to do, and you can't escape early. I like all of that about Friday the 13th. What ruined Friday the 13th for me was when it got that huge popularity surge. Suddenly the lobbies that they used to be communal and jovial when I first started playing it, pretty casual. Most people had microphones, and then there's this surge. Did they offer it for free? Is that what they did?
Yeah.
Okay, when that happened, suddenly the lobbies became toxic, antagonistic, and filled with children. That, and it's like, and I did not know this term at the time, but squeakers. And I didn't know that term until Mike explained what it was. Like, he's like, "Oh, did you get a bunch of squeakers?" And I was like, "I have no idea what that is." And when he explained it to me, he was like, "Yeah," and they would talk nonstop during the game, and I'm like, "It's a horror game. Let me enjoy the horror game aspect of it." And the advantage,
the best part. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that can lead to some of the best things you hear over mic.
Yes,
like when parents are telling them to go to bed and they argue, and you had a fun thing with a parent, right?
I know. Yeah, I know. I ran into a parent screaming in the background.
No. Kid. About your name.
Oh, that was not a parent. That was just another player.
Oh.
And
somebody somebody took exception to your name.
Can I cuss on your podcast?
I'll bleep it.
All right, I will bleep myself. I popped into a Friday the 13th lobby, and there was a incredibly ear-piercingly loud woman just ranting. And when my name came up, and my PS4 name is Scary Russ Lives, and she said, What? Scary Russ lives? I want to tell you, Scary Russ, right now, I don't give up if you live or if you die, and you need to know that right now. And is attacking me for my screen name, and I was like, oh, it's going to be one of those games. And literally, the game started, and anytime you were near her, she was just ranting at whoever was nearby, and it was like, and I immediately left the lobby.
Was this before they made the update where you could kill each other in the game?
It was after.
It was after. I was like, I would have just killed her myself.
And I will say, and Mike, I've told Mike a couple of stories. I have had weirder experiences in Friday the 13th. It's like, and the weirdest one was I couldn't sleep one night, and I was playing at 2:30 or 3 a.m. in the morning, and I wound up in a lobby where everyone was speaking Japanese, I think, or was it German? I don't remember.
Oh, because those sound very similar.
So no, I'm trying to remember, because I've played with a lot of Japanese speaking people.
But if you can't tell the difference,
no, I just don't remember which lobby this was. I've played with a lot of, for some reason, Japanese speaking people in Friday the 13th. I've run into a lot of them. I think this lobby was German because, and you'll see why I think, because it's such a harsh language. They were being harsh in the lobby. You could and then the game started, and no one spoke. And it you'd get near people and they would not speak.
That's awesome.
And so finally, one of the cars got started, and it was the 4-person car, and I was there, and I got into the car. And no one was speaking inside the car, and another player runs up and they literally ran over that player deliberately, and nobody said a word. And I'm like, oh. And I'm the only one reacting to the fact that in the game, we just literally cold-blooded ran down somebody and nobody spoke. And then the game ended and they all started chatting again. And I literally can't understand what they're saying.
That's
so
awesome.
I don't know if it was a positive thing or a negative. And I was just like, this is creepy.
That's probably their friend that they don't like. That's all.
It was very creepy. Awesome. The silence was weird, and when they ran that person down, the fact that no one said anything, no one reacted except
laughed,
me.
nothing. Wow.
Nobody laughed, like nothing, and like that was another weird experience I had in Friday the 13th. But I started running into lobbies and lobbies full of annoying kids, and you would enter the lobby and like, friend me, and I was like, no. So it became less fun when it became this hugely popular thing.
Yeah. And
we've gone back a few times, and a couple of times we've run into that. We've run into the chattering children. But overall the actual game itself, I like the atmosphere and the mood better in Friday the 13th, but there's a lot of things, like Mike said, glitches. I never got the hang of driving the car very well.
That's one of the funnest things to do.
It really is. It's a lot of fun to drive the car.
So I do like the tip that you gave me of that driving backwards is easier, and I agree with you.
It definitely is.
I agree with you. My favorite thing to do is I love the phone fuse. I love finding that and then hunting down the box. And there's really nothing like that in Dead by Daylight that is goal-oriented.
Right.
Other than the goal of the round, which is to open the gates.
Right.
And survive.
What's the game you were talking about where it's supposed to be a combo of the two?
Oh, Project Resistance.
That's it.
They just announced it. It's kind of Resident Evil like, but it's a combination of Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight. Basically, that's what the gameplay feels like. So I think it's coming out sometime next year. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays.
And something that I like about both Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight is the fact that you have Springwood and Haddonfield. Are we really going to get Westboro in Dead by Daylight?
I don't know. I mean, I think they would have released it with Ghostface.
Well, that's what didn't make sense. Is somebody put online Woodsboro? Thank you. Somebody put on Reddit, I believe, one of the new characters, and in the corner it said Sydney's house.
Oh,
Woodsboro.
That would be awesome if they did.
But it didn't make sense with that character. It's like that character, and you're right. Why wouldn't they do it with Ghostface? So I think that was a mislead. I think it was a deliberate, like a fan thing where they were trying to mess with people.
Well, it surprised me because you would think when Ghostface came out, they would have come out with a Scream character.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and they didn't.
Here's the thing: if you want to get into licensing, Scream is a separate entity. Ghostface is a separate entity.
True.
So they only licensed Ghostface.
They didn't license Scream.
Yeah.
Right. But I was very curious about that. But the fact that you have, Springwood and you have Haddonfield, and you both, I think, have probably witnessed times when I encounter Michael and literally scream.
Yes. That is quite enjoyable when you do that.
It's enjoyable for me because, like, as I'm looking around, because I am still not proficient at looking around and doing the gens at the same time, and it's like, oh, I'll look around, and then I'll forget to continue looking around, and I'll concentrate on the generator, and that's when the killers always sneak up on me. So there have been times when I literally turn the camera and Michael's right here, just staring at me, watching me. That's been very effective. I really enjoy those things. Friday the 13th, similar things have happened. I love the different maps on Friday the 13th. I think that's a strength for each of the games, is those environments that feel familiar. And I loved running around Crystal Lake. As like PacMan, I'm not that thrilled about it.
Because it always happens.
PacMan, and I really believe that that's because on the PacMan map in Friday the 13th, everything is so centrally located. You don't have to work as hard.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if I'm going to play that game, I want to run around the map and avoid Jason. And it's like, that's part of the fun of it, which is also, that's a difference between you guys and me, I think. I think you and I are similar in this. And like, Mike, you play Killer and you seem to enjoy it. I don't like playing Jason, and I don't like playing the killers in Dead by Daylight because I enjoy the survivor responsibilities and the survivor goals better. And I haven't played enough of the killers to get used to them. I'm a little more used to, or used to be a little more used to Jason. I'm probably not now. But in Dead by Daylight, the first-person POV thing throws me quite often. I lose people all the time. Even if I have downed them, I can lose them. So that's odd for me. But I just like the survivor or the counselor goals better. And so that's why I'm more drawn to them, because they have more to do in many aspects. So it's like I like that more. So for me, I think I like the game of Friday the 13th better, but I actually enjoy playing Dead by Daylight more.
Gotcha. Okay.
And also because it's a smaller lobby, it's like it's the goals are more concise. And even though the games might last longer than the 20 minutes of Friday the 13th round, there's something about it which is more impactful as far as thrills and things like that go.
So would you say the same? Would you have the same attitude towards it if you played alone and didn't have like if we didn't play Dead by Daylight every night, like all of our friends, or if we didn't play Friday the 13th in the beginning
because we have no lives
with with you and Omar and myself and stuff.
I'm avoiding life. So.
Would you have the same outlook on it? Because I think that's a big thing for me, because I probably wouldn't be playing Dead by Daylight as much if it wasn't for you guys. Because that's
probably am the same.
I agree with that 100%. For me, I was never an online gamer. That was one of the things I always shied away from. Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th, I can very easily say, are the first two real online experiences I've had with gaming, and it's for the social aspect. It really is. It's like, if you guys aren't playing, I'll go in and play, but it's not as meaningful. You know, it's just like, I'm playing literally, let me just play a couple games and rank up if I can. I was like, but it's not as fun as...
And I do that by myself as well.
Right. The whole point is, it's us playing, and whether it's Friday the 13th or Dead by Daylight, it doesn't matter. It's equally enjoyable to me if we're playing in a group.
Right.
We can leave the 7-year-olds out of it. Because I agree with you on that front. Like for Friday the 13th, it's like when I start hearing kids in the lobby, I just start muting everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you go on Friday the 13th now, which I have done a couple of times on my own, and we've revisited recently, you go into lobbies, nobody has a mic.
Yeah.
Which it used to be the exact opposite. The single person without the mic was the oddity. And now nobody talks to each other. And I think it's because of what happened to the game. Yeah. It became this toxic community. Or if it wasn't toxic, it was screaming children. Did I ever tell you the story of the forest? When somebody barged in on my friend Justin and
Yes,
me?
You did tell me about that one.
Do you know that?
I don't know.
I was playing the forest one night with my friend Justin.
He's my friend too, Russell.
Oh. Our friend Justin.
I don't know Justin.
So, very cool guy. Lives in Chicago. We were playing the forest, and we got viciously attacked in a cave by cannibals. And we were... It's the cave with the babies. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. It's like... And then there's like a huge...
I don't, but I'm intrigued already.
And,
cave with babies.
It's only like $20 too.
Yeah, it's really fun. Really fun. And also one of the first open world games that actually appealed to me, which, I made reference earlier to open world. Like, this open world game appeals to me because there are consequences to what you're doing. And that adds an aspect to me that is intriguing. So your daily activities have consequences, whether you survive or make you more vulnerable, which is really interesting. Which is also one of the things about Friday the 13th, which I find interesting, and Dead by Daylight has the same thing. Is like, you have things that make you more or less vulnerable at different times. That is also one of the things I like about the game, both of them. So we were playing the forest one night, and we were in the middle of this cannibal attack, and we were not doing well, and suddenly I hear, "Cannibals suck!" And we continue playing, and we sort of got to the end of that, defeated, killed what we needed to kill, and all of that. And it's like, wow, that was intense. And he's like, yeah, it was. By the way, cannibals suck? And it was like, I said, yeah. It's like, why did you scream cannibals suck? And we're like, I didn't scream cannibals suck. I thought you screamed cannibals suck. And what had happened is someone had seen our public party, joined it, and neither just because we were in the middle of doing everything, Justin and I didn't notice. And what it was this like, I think he was probably 7 or 8 years old kid. He couldn't see our game. He just heard our conversation. And it was just weird.
And just shouted it out.
And just shouted out. And then finally it was like, hey, is there someone else on this conversation? And this kid, oh yeah. It's like, I'm here. I'm like, what? And what it was is it was someone that I had obviously accidentally friended in the Friday the 13th lobby. Mm-hmm. And I said, it's like, wait, it's like, whose friend are you? It's like, well, I'm your friend. I'm like, where do we know each other from? And he said, probably a Friday the 13th lobby. I friend everyone on Friday the 13th. And I probably accepted after one of the rounds thinking it was someone else.
Never accept a stranger's friend request.
I have learned that from Friday the 13th. Yeah. But it was such a weird, total breach of etiquette of like jumping in and then not being... And we were like, well, what are you doing here? And the kid said, well, I want to join your game of the forest. I was like, we're signing off. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. It's like, we have jobs. We're leaving. And so we ended the game and I unfriended him and blocked him immediately.
Nice.
So, but it was
just,
it was this weird breach of etiquette that was so foreign to me and felt like a weird violation of like, that was creepy that someone came into our conversation, didn't announce themselves, like didn't say, hey guys.
That's what a kid would do.
Yeah.
And it was just like that was weird. Yeah.
But again, that's what kids do.
Yes. We've also talked more, I think Mike and I have talked about the thing that is surprising to me as a newbie gamer is the toxicity that some people approach this community with. Because it is a community. If you're sharing games this way, if you're online playing, you're forming a community, period. It's a small community. It's 8 people. It's 4 people. It's 6 people. Whatever. But the attitude and the aggression that some people approach it with is such a turnoff to me. And especially...
Why do you still play with me?
You do get worked up. You do get worked up.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen like I've screenshotted the messages I've got after playing Killer.
I love the messages you get when you play Killer. Those are the best messages.
But I'm talking mainly about survivors against each other. I find that odd. And it was like, I was playing at Mike's house one afternoon, and like, oh yeah, sit down and play a couple rounds. I played a round, and somebody messaged me afterwards like, we carried you the entire game. You're worthless. And it was like, yeah, the killer was chasing me the majority of the game, and you guys did the gen as I was running around on the other side of the map. So it was just like, we just approached the game differently. I was distraction.
You were a distraction the whole time.
But it was like, this person took the time to actually open up a message, write that, send. Like, I don't have that in my being.
No. I kind of have fun when I insult people, though. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't, especially when a killer is playing like a cheap game. I have no problem sending them a message afterwards. But I'm snarky with it because I want it to be funny.
It's like
it's not like a go to hell you loser type of thing. It's more.
But that's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, see, those I can't stand.
That's what I'm referring to.
Those I can't stand.
And to be totally honest, I have played against some killers in Dead by Daylight I really would like to get snarky with. So.
See, exactly. See, it's fun. You should do it.
Okay.
But anyway, but I like the approach that you made towards both games. That Friday the 13th overall a better game in your opinion, but you enjoy playing Dead by Daylight more.
Yeah, I think so. Which do you guys find more frightening? Because they are horror games.
I don't know.
Dead by Daylight for me. Because there's more jump scares. Because there's so many, there's a few killers that they have no terror radius, and if you're not looking in the right direction, all of a sudden it's like, oh crap!
Yeah,
Whereas Friday the 13th,
the music starts.
Yeah, you know, or you see the static, so you know when he's close.
Right. But I think that's a very valid point. I think I agree with you. Do you feel the same?
Yeah, I feel like I feel like Friday the 13th plays up tension better. Like when I'm doing something, I'm always wondering. Like I'm
and
always,
if you mess it up, you know
right.
that other people can hear you and he
Exactly.
can hear you. Yeah.
Whereas with Dead by Daylight, to your point, like the jump scares are definitely better in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
But the tension for me is bigger in Friday the 13th, especially when the music starts playing. Then all of a sudden, I start getting intense. So for me, it's like they're both in their own way. Mm-hmm. Like they both have a good scare.
Yeah, it sounds. How do you feel about the sound in the games? I personally think Dead by Daylight is probably a little bit more effective.
Yeah, because I think there's more. There are more subtle sounds that are in there that kind of play up the creep factor. So in other words, like Friday the 13th to me, it's like you hear a lot of sound when you're basically just like running on the road, running on the dirt and stuff like that, and that's really most of it. I was like, but with Dead by Daylight, you'll hear little sounds like when you run past the water tower, or when you're like, there are little things that they do that I feel the cage,
where you hear the lanterns burning.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, that's true. Or
the barrels on fire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, I feel like they play up the sound a lot better. In that respect.
Right.
Whereas, but again, with Friday the 13th, I think part of the reason why I like the tension in it is because of the lack of sound. There's this eerie quiet to it for a long period of time before Jason comes, and finds you. So again, they take two different approaches. I do prefer the Dead by Daylight one though.
Oh, interesting.
More.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know if we have a definitive answer in terms of which one is better overall. I really wish that they that Gun Media didn't lose the license to Friday the 13th though, because I was secretly hoping we would get the cruise ship from Jason Takes Manhattan. I thought that would be like an awesome way to play on a level.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that is not meant to be. I also think that the game would have, to your point, the way that they gave up on it, had they had not gone after the Friday the 13th license and just left it, I think it was just going to be called Summer Camp before that. If they had left it as Summer Camp, I think we'd be having a completely different conversation because that game would probably still be getting updated today.
Right.
It was because they went after that license that actually, unfortunately, kind of doomed them, which sucks.
Well, didn't doom them in the beginning.
It didn't doom them in the beginning.
It helped them in the beginning.
Yeah, it helped them in the beginning, but it just ultimately kind of got them stuck. But you know what? I mean, the game is still running. We can still play it, which is awesome. You just got to silence all the squeakers. But yeah, I mean, so I'm assuming, based on the conversation, that it's really, if you had to pick one, which one would it be? I think I know the answer. If you had to just pick one of them.
Mike?
I know your answer.
Yeah, Dead by Daylight.
Yeah.
It's very close, but I would lean a little bit toward Dead by Daylight.
And I'd lean Dead by Daylight also. I just wish, and this is the one thing I do wish they would put in the damn game, because I hate the mores that they have in the game, which are when the killers kill you, because everybody only has one. They don't fill out the animation fully for the kills. And on top of that, I would love to see them incorporate more kills. That's the one thing Friday the 13th wins on, hands down.
Yeah.
The kills in that game are insanely awesome.
Yeah.
I was like, and I want that in Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, and that's what part of the fun of Friday the 13th is. There are times I've literally, as I was dying of Friday the 13th, like, I've never died like this before. This is awesome.
Yeah, I remember the first time I got folded up in the lawn chair. I mean, that was like one of the best things ever. Yeah. I've never experienced the sleeping bag one, and I've always wanted to. I gotta set that one up.
Either.
I gotta set that up one day. But yeah, all right. So Dead by Daylight all around.
Just overall fun. Yeah. Overall, yeah.
I kind of figured that was the answer, but I had to ask.
Yeah, of course.
But I think we've talked enough about this, and I say we steer this into port because I really want the cruise ship aboard on Friday the 13th. So, well, first off,
subtle.
Yeah, it's totally subtle. But first off, I want to thank you guys for joining me this week, for filling in. Larry missed a really awesome episode, but he doesn't play Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, so he misses out. But in terms of where can our watchers and listeners find you guys? Because video games isn't everything that you guys do.
Well, if you go into any post office, you'll see Russell's picture up on the wall. So,
have you moved up in rank there?
Yes. Life goals.
But I know you guys have your you guys have your own podcast. So I mean, where can people find you guys, and tell them a little bit about that?
Do the intro, Mike.
Go for it.
What am I, your servant?
No.
Like, jump, monkey.
Donkey Kong.
Yeah, we do a podcast called My Haunt Life, and we talk about haunts, haunted things, horror, immersive theater, escape rooms, video games, basically whatever's going on in our life. We talk about if we go to a show or we see a movie or we play a game, we talk about it and we basically give reviews and things like that. You can find us at on the web, myhauntlife.com, or all the social medias at myhauntlife.
Yeah, we have past episodes available discussing stuff that we've done in the past, and also we have
Past episodes discussing things we've done
in the past. Yes. And we have interviews with show creators that we've gone to, which we constantly get feedback that people really enjoy the interviews because it gives them a glimpse behind the scenes of shows that they can attend here in the Los Angeles area. So yeah, it's that's what we do other than working. So
Well, not me.
yeah.
I am currently unemployed because I got laid off because the company I worked for filed Chapter 11. So if anyone watching this has any leads on a buying position, retail buying, or e-commerce merchandising,
They can track you down at My Haunt Life.
yes, please let me know, because yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. You have something you want to
But
say
before we
close?
go.
Before we go.
So I didn't want to come empty-handed, so I did bring you guys something. So
Is this because you knew we were going to be on video?
no, I would have brought this anyway. So it's like, but no, it's because Mike was not here. Mike was traveling during most of the Halloween season.
Yeah.
So he missed out on a lot of the Halloween candy. So I brought each of you a Count Chocula bar. Count Chocula bar.
Nice. Well, thank you.
So
Thank you, General Mills.
So it's kind of like a Rice Krispie treat with chocolate Krispies.
I am all in for that. I used to love Count Chocula as a kid, so thank you for this.
So yeah, absolutely. So that is my gift to you.
All right.
Count Chocula bar.
And with that, thank you guys both for being on the show. For everybody who watches and listens to the Retro Gamers, you can find us at theretrogamers.com. On Instagram at Retro Gamers Podcast, on Facebook at Retro Gamers Podcast, and you can watch us on YouTube. Just look us up at the Retro Gamers Podcast. And this has been. You've got one more thing before we close.
I've got one more thing. I'd like to ask both of you a question.
Sure.
Like, because I'm the newbie,
Yes.
like, and you know that I like horror, and you're into horror. Is there a horror game that I need to go back to? Like, if you and the reason I'm asking this is there are classics like Left 4 Dead,
Yep.
Dead Rising.
Yep.
I haven't played any of the
Silent Hill,
which is one I've always heard about.
Resident Evil 2.
which Black Friday $15.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay, so if you would steer, like, what's the must for me?
Silent Hill, in my
Silent
opinion.
Hill. Oh, really?
Yeah, the first.
Silent Hill's got
Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Why?
Silent Hill 2 is better, I think, but still. It's just a really unnerving game. I mean, I think that's the best way to put it. Like,
Okay.
it keeps you on edge pretty much the whole way through.
It's like playing a haunt. Like,
Oh, wow.
that
Alright.
game, when that came out, I was probably 18, 19 maybe. And I was playing at night with the lights off, screamed at a few parts, and had to turn it off. I was like, nope, I can't play this anymore. At
Wow.
night. Like,
Yeah.
it's that effective.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I would definitely try that one.
And
that one seems up
Is
your
that
alley.
available for PS4?
It's PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it'd have to be like an emulator, or I might have it because I have a fat PS3 which plays PS2 and PS1s. I might have it. So if I do, we can play it at some point.
Oh, I would.
Or
like
to be
that.
honest with you can pick up a PlayStation 1 for like $30.
Oh, okay.
So it's available.
I did not know this.
But
1 and 2.
yeah. But outside of that, if anybody watching or listening has any horror recommendation games for Russell, please feel free to sound off on our page or reach out to Russell at My Haunt Life. And with that, thank you both gentlemen for being on the show.
Thank
and
you.
we will catch you next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.